Please take your seat. My name is Adriana Rodriguez, and it is my privilege and great pleasure to act as your host this evening. Before we get started, I want to review a few housekeeping. All speakers, please stand on this X to ensure that you're being captured in the live stream. If possible, please avoid standing or talking in front of the camera to ensure that we're being respectful to our live stream audience. I hope that you enjoy the refreshments. Please use the trash receptacle. I want to say on behalf of the NAACP Political Action Committee, welcome. It is wonderful to see so many of you here, and serves as a reminder to us all just how important upholding the democracy is. The theme is health and equity from the bench, which is pertinent today as it was in 1912 during the branch's creation. The Cleveland branch was established with the goal of improving political, educational, social, and economic status of minority groups and aims to eliminate racial hatred and racial discrimination. Since the branch's inception in 1912, we have created trailblazing programs such as the Judicial Marketplace. We hope that you leave the event with a deeper understanding and connect how these positions affect your daily life and the importance of voting in every election. Thank you to all the partners, candidates, and residents for making time in your schedule. I now welcome to the floor City Council President Blaine Griffin.
Well, first of all, good evening. How's everyone doing? Good. All right, come on. Y'all can do better than that. Good evening. How's everybody doing? All right. First of all, I want to acknowledge and give a round of applause to one of our amazing leaders in the Buckeye Shaker Woodland Hills community, Adriana. It's great to see emerging leadership. I tell everybody that I used to be young, but now I'm just young adjacent. So now it's great to see new leadership. I learned and had the fortune to learn under Charlie Bibb and others like that really helped tutor us in the political game. And they helped us recognize how important judicial races are. These judicial races are extremely important. I know that the council, president and council people are your portal to politics and civic relationships. However, it is very critical that a majority of our community won't get to meet their mayor, won't get to meet their governor, won't get to meet their president, but they will interact for some reason, whether civil or criminal, with the judicial system. So the jobs that you are running for are very important. We take it very serious, and we're just glad that we're here to be able to support you in this great building where I happen to have an office, in this great ward where I happen to be the council person, and also this great city that needs great qualified judges. So I wish you all the best. Thank you to all of the community leaders that I have that represent Ward 6, Ms. Marilyn, Ms. Diane Pride-Mays. I know we have the Hill family and other Ward 6 leaders. Where's Lachey, or she's right here somewhere. Another one of our precinct committee leaders, but we're here in force, here to support you. And last but not least, who can tell Pam Mason no when she tells you that she wants you to be? So thank you all once again. Enjoy the judicial market.
We're in for a real treat tonight. Our guest speaker is a man who has been the driving force behind developing and advancing policies and practices that enhance diversity, inclusion, and equity throughout the university and the broader community. Ronnie Dunn received a PhD in Urban Studies at Cleveland State University in 2004. His research and teaching interests include racial and social justice, crime, and the criminal justice system, policing, diversity, and issues affecting minorities and the urban poor. He was appointed Chief Diversity Officer July of 2018. His passion and dedication in promoting equity has been trailblazing and inspires the next set of leaders. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Ronnie Dunn on speaking to health and equity from the bench.
Thank you, Adriana, and good evening. Can you hear me? Or, okay. Adriana, I think you're blocking the...
Oh, I thought
So it's a pleasure to be here this evening. I want to thank the NAACP's Political Action Committee for inviting me to participate in this very important and critical forum. So equity from the bench. Now, really, when I prepared my comments this evening, I was preparing them with the community in mind. I see there are a lot of candidates here, but I hope that the community is watching us via live stream. So with that, I'll begin. So first, we know there's been a significant focus recently within the past decade focusing on police reform, and rightfully so, as I think we would all agree. There are significant problems that we've experienced both locally and nationally around policing. And the police are the primary gatekeepers to the criminal justice system. So it's important that we do focus on that. But mind you, the police are only the tip of the iceberg. So now that we have a critical mass of the community focusing on policing, I think it's time that we took a deeper dive and deeper look at other aspects of the criminal justice system. And that being the reason for this forum this evening, as you're seeking to serve the community, serving from the bench as judges representing the community that we live in here. So first I want to go and begin with, and that this is the NAACP, the National Association of the Advancement of Colored People. So my comments are framed specifically from an African American and people of color perspective, speaking to those concerns and issues. So looking at the social control of blacks, taking a historical view in the United States, we understand that prior to the Civil War, plantation justice was the primary form of sanction and control of blacks. Now, post the Civil War, we see that by 1870, blacks are now representing 95% of the Southern prison population. So prior to the slave or the enslaved blacks were primarily sanctioned and penalized via the will of the master, the overseer, via lynching, mutilation, or the whip, if you will. But we see this exponential growth in the incarceration of blacks once they are no longer considered property and profitable to the system of slavery. We then see the implementation of vagrancy laws, convict leasing, debt peonage, which filled the prisons with black women, children, and men as cheap and expendable labor force. From there, by 1926, blacks now represent 21% of the new admittance to prisons in the United States. By 1964, that number is 33%. Then, in 1970, when the population of our prisons was only 200,000, this is when the war on drugs was initiated by the Nixon administration. From here, we see the exponential growth in the incarceration of African Americans, particularly during the crack epidemic of the mid-1980s. By 1990, blacks are now 50% of new admittance to our prisons. This increased to 1.5 million by 2006 and 2.2 million by 2015. Blacks and Hispanics represent 55% of the incarcerated population in America. 4.6 more people are on probation, parole, totaling 6.7 million people under the control of the criminal justice system. Here, taking a look, we see this is 10 years worth of court data compiled for the Cuyahoga County based on data that was scraped, web scraped from publicly accessible data, and a database that was compiled. And we see that in Cuyahoga County, blacks are 30.5% of the population, yet they represent 68.4% of those that are defendants in our courts. Whites, on the other hand, 27.4% of the county population and 63.5% of those defendants in our court system. And then Hispanics, and I apologize for the blurriness of these slides. Black Hispanics are 2.2% of the population, yet 6.3% of those within the county criminal justice system, and Hispanics, 3.4% of the county population, 0.13% of those in the county court system. And others, 2.6% of the population, 1.3% of the county criminal justice system. So, looking at this issue again at the state and local level, there are currently 42,963 inmates in the Ohio Department of Corrections as of 2021. 51.9% are white, 44.5% black, 3.5% other. Cuyahoga County represents 11% of the state's prison population. And I was really somewhat surprised by the percentage of commitments, new commitments to our prisons that we currently are at 9.4%. That's a significant decrease from what Cuyahoga County traditionally had sent to and returned from our county state prison system. That number is actually down from 21.4% in 2001. I attribute this significant decrease to the change in one policy in the city of Cleveland, and that was the repeal of a drug enforcement policy, or what was known as crack pipe policy, where Cleveland was the only city in the state of Ohio that prosecuted the possession of a crack pipe as a felony. Now, if you recall, in 2009, the Plain Dealer did a two-page, two-day expose on drug sentencing in the county. And at that time, well, that expose helped precipitate the changing and repeal of that policy. At the time, myself, the then president of the NAACP, James Hardiman, the ACLU, and others that were advocating for the repeal of that policy, we met with the city leaders, the county leaders, as well as the county prosecutor at the time. The county prosecutor, Bill Mason, he stated that the city, we averaged at the county level between 1,200 and 1,500 of those cases per year. When we met in the Red Room, when Mayor Jackson signed the legislation or the policy of repealing that policy, Martin Flass, who was then the safety director, stated, "We've been following a failed drug policy for 23 years." Now, think about that for a minute. 1,200 to 1,500 cases, people saddled with a felony drug conviction for possession of a crack pipe. If I have a crack pipe, am I a major drug dealer? A major drug kingpin? I have an addiction. Now, today we recognize that addiction is a public health issue, and we're addressing it as such, right? Well, think of those between 27,000 and 32,000 people, residents of Cuyahoga County, primarily the city of Cleveland, that are still to this day saddled with a felony drug conviction. Think about what that means for their life, their family, their community, and their livelihood. So that is really emphasizes the the impact of those decisions that emanate from the bench. Now, mind you, it's not solely on the judiciary that created those numbers, that situation. The prosecutor has a role, as do the police. Now, the police repealed that law, that policy, and there was no spike in crime. Actually, just the opposite. We saw the decrease in the numbers of admittance to our state prisons. So, in conclusion, another point that I think many of us probably aren't aware of, Ohio is second in the nation of people who have had their convictions exonerated. So that's a dubious distinction for us to have when we think about that. And I know some of those individuals personally that were on death row 30 some odd years. Can you imagine that? To be wrongfully convicted on death row and then be exonerated. These factors highlight the need for blacks and people of color in general to know and vote on those seeking to serve on the bench. Also, it illustrates the need for court data to be compiled and made available to the public to provide transparency and a level of accountability and greater fairness. With that, thank you.
So we're going to finish with the next portion. I apologize. Thing just went out, technical difficulties. So this is going to be the actual marketplace. The primary function of the judicial branch is to fairly and impartially settle disputes according to the law. For this event, we will focus on Ohio's Court of Common Pleas, the Courts of Appeals, and finally, the Supreme Court. Please use your note worksheets to refer to the judicial roles, jot any questions, candidates that you would like to meet, or if you would like to inquire more about the role if elected into office. Candidates, please look at the slide to monitor the speaking order. Please be ready to give a brief presentation of 2 minutes. A timekeeper, right here, will monitor the time. At the 1 minute warning, a green sign will appear, and at the 2 minute warning, a red sign will appear. Please stay within the time limit to ensure that we hear from all candidates. Attendees will have the opportunity to meet the candidates after their speeches. You can seek more information about a particular topic or ask more questions. We are excited to have everyone here, and it is imperative that we are respectful to all candidates. We have a shared responsibility to ensure that our space is friendly and polite. So the first judges that we will have to speak is the Juvenile Court of Common Pleas. A basic summary is that offenses involving minors, most paternity actions. There are 7 candidates on the ballot. Today we have 5 judges here with us today. Will candidate Ann Mcdonough please approach the floor and stand on the X? Lucky number 1.
Hi, I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak with you tonight. My name is Ann Mcdonough and I am a candidate for Juvenile Court Judge, term beginning January 1st, 2023. What I'd like to tell you about me tonight is who I am. Who I am is the daughter of a social worker and a small business owner. This has instilled in me a strong belief in social justice and public service, as well as a strong work ethic. I have worked in and around a courtroom for the past 18 years, including as a magistrate for juvenile court. I am now assistant legal counsel for juvenile court. I have worked in every angle of the court, from programming to the courtroom. I have handled every type of case that the court handles. But it is beyond my professional experience that what I can bring to the courtroom is my personal experience as well. I am a single mom of 2 children, one child with special needs. So I have been, if you can't hear me, I have been the single mom sitting outside of a courtroom, overwhelmed and unsure of what is happening next. This is why I would run a trauma-informed courtroom. I would want to increase community collaboration, including, I want to use our juvenile justice system to build up our families and youth, including making juvenile court a car seat check location. How can we improve your quality of life if you have to be court involved? Offer opportunities for health screenings. I want to prioritize effective community responses while still ensuring community safety. And I want to foster the ideals of diversity, equity, and inclusion in the courtroom and court-wide. I would like to provide initiatives and training in that area as well. And lastly, I want to be out in the community. I want to be in the schools, I want to be in the rec centers, I want to be listening and learning, because that is how we're going to improve the system, is working together. And if I have the opportunity to serve, I will bring this passion and hardworking, strong work ethic to court with me every single day. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Will candidate Tracy Pebbles please approach the floor and stand on the X?
Good evening. I am not Tracy Martin Peoples. I am her cousin. Tracy tonight has a fundraiser for her campaign, so I am here to represent her. I wanted to tell you she's been an attorney working in the juvenile court since 1997. Currently, she is a magistrate for Judge Michael Ryan. She's been in private practice, assistant prosecuting attorney, community-based prosecutor, restorative justice and reentry collaborations, juvenile defense, municipal prosecution, reentry magistrate, and bridges magistrate. I also would like to tell you she's very dedicated to the youth and families. Her ability to connect with young people and elevate their expectations for themselves and hold everyone accountable for their successes. Lastly, I would like to say my cousin Tracy is dedicated to the livelihood of all of our children. For those reasons, I am asking you to support Tracy Martin Peoples for juvenile court judge. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Will candidate Rucker please approach the floor and stand on the X?
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. My name is Ronnie Rucker, and I am running for Cuyahoga County Juvenile Court Judge. I am running for the seat that is being vacated by Judge Michael Ryan. I am running for juvenile court for three reasons. First and second, we need the most qualified individual on the bench, and we need the most diverse individual on the bench. As a trial attorney of over 33 years and a judicial officer of over 21 years, of which 14 and a half were spent as a magistrate with Cuyahoga County Juvenile Court, I have handled every type of case the juvenile court is empowered to hear. The third reason I am running is because I am a father of 5, so I am running for the children and the families of juvenile court. What do I mean by that? I have a vision. And part of my vision is I would like to see the return of the union that was so unceremoniously dismissed from the court some time ago. Why do I want to see that return? I want to see that return for the safety of our employees as well as the safety of our residents in the detention center. I also want to partner with the union in order to bring vocational classes for those who do not want to go to high school or go to college in the detention center. I also want to partner with Tri-C and Cleveland State University to add college curriculum courses to our high school curriculum in the detention center for those students who would like to go on to college. Why do I want to do these things? To give our children hope. I also would like to establish I would also like to bring into the detention center community involvement with our community leaders. I would also like to have a value-centered program so that we can teach our children the values that are needed and so that they can move on. I would also like to reestablish the city diversion programs that were there, that were not controlled by the prosecuting attorney's office, but were controlled by the city that kept our children out of the juvenile justice system. I am a lifelong Democrat. My name is Ronnie Rucker, and I'm running for Juvenile Court Judge. I would hope that you would embrace my candidacy. I thank you for your time, your attention, and also for your support. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Candidate Hawkins, please approach the floor and stand on the X.
Good evening. My name is Pamela Hawkins, and I am running for Cuyahoga County Juvenile Court Judge. First of all, I would like to thank the NAACP for putting on this event and giving us the opportunity to reach out to the community at large. I am a private attorney. I have been an attorney for 18 years. I have been a trial attorney that entire time. I am also a former prosecutor for Children and Family Services. My entire practice is focused on representing court-appointed clients, which means my clients can't afford to retain an attorney. I also do guardian ad litem work, which means I go out to see my kids where they are. And every one of my kids that I represent knows they are my kids, and that's how I talk about them every day. I believe we need to re-engage the community because it does take a village to raise our children, and we need everyone to be involved. We need to have a court that is reaching out to the community, that is a place where the community can go not only for justice, but also for services, for support, so that they know when you have a custody matter, you're going to go into court and you're going to get that resolved in a timely fashion, that you're going to be able to get your needs met, that the kids who are placed on probation are able to access services, and for our kids who are aging out of the system, which means they've turned 18, that they know how to access the adult services that they need to continue benefiting from the services they've had as a youth. So that is part of why I am running. Again, my name is Pamela Hawkins, and I am running for Cuyahoga County Juvenile Court Judge. Thank you very much for your time and attention.
Thank you. Will candidate Sweeney please approach the floor and stand on the X?
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm coming from the back because I am running unopposed. I want to thank you all for hosting this. It's my pleasure to be here. I'm honored to be here to be able to ask for your vote this coming May and November. I've been on the bench now 18 years. Before being elected back in 2004, I was an assistant public defender. I had a great time doing it, and it's been an honor to serve in this capacity on the bench. And I just going to talk briefly about some of the awards I have won. I would love to answer any questions. I don't know if there's any time. I've been told that this is a strict cutoff. So I've done a lot of work. In 2006, I was awarded the Young Advocates Award by the American Bar Association, which is a national organization. I was awarded a Marshall Memorial Fellowship to study juvenile justice in Europe. I was awarded work by the 8th District Judicial Conference for my pro bono efforts, and also by the Legal Aid Society in Cleveland. I was awarded for pro bono service in 2013. I am particularly proud to have been honored by then House of Representative Marcia Fudge for an Angels of Adoption Award for the work that I've been doing on behalf of foster children in Cuyahoga County, and the Cuyahoga County Prosecutor's Office Stephanie Tubbs Jones Award for public service. I founded and preside over the Phoenix Court, which is the juvenile mental health court. I preside over the family drug court and the Safe Babies docket. For 6 years, I was the administrative judge elected by my judicial colleagues. I'm currently teaching juvenile law at the Cleveland State Law School. And thank you very much. My time is done, and I'm going to respect that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So for the next portion of speakers will relate to the Domestic Relations Court of Common Pleas. Basically, the sum of this is relating to divorces, support, and custody of children. There are 3 non-contested candidates on the ballot. We have 1 judge with us here with us today. Candidate Goldberg, please approach the floor and stand on the X. No rush, no rush, no rush. I promise you.
I'm on the fight.
Come on.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, I want to thank the NAACP for hosting this event. It is so important. First of all, everyone in the audience should be given a round of applause for attending this tonight and getting to know your judges. I have to get on the X. Okay. First and foremost, I was hired by the late Congresswoman Stephanie Tubbs Jones, and she was my mentor, and she really guided me and really gave me my first opportunity in public service. So I want to take this opportunity to thank her. She really taught me about relationships and about connecting with the community. I got involved with community-based prosecution. We did curfew sweeps and drug vigils, and I was in community-based prosecution, and I was in elder exploitation with Judge Clancy, and I was in the major trial unit and ran our Internet Crimes Against Children task force. And so she really taught me about giving back to our community. I have been honored and privileged to serve as a judge in domestic relations court for over 7.5 years. And I take a very proactive approach. I do things a little bit differently. Sometimes I make house calls. I go out to nursing homes and hospitals and residences and divorced people. This was Zoom calls, pre-COVID. I also have a wall of happiness for happily divorced couples. The first week that I started on the job, I had a happily divorced couple, and I'm coming from homicides and rape cases, and I'm like, oh my God, this can never happen. And we have over 500 of those cases. I like to celebrate our families. I also helped initiate our Court Connect, which is one of the first apps in a domestic relations court in Ohio, so you can have the court in your hands in live time to see what's going on in the docket. And I'm very proud of the establishment in 2017 of our help center in terms of for pro se or self-represented litigants. Thank you very much. I'm unopposed. I work for each and every one of you. I always say this seat doesn't belong to me, it belongs to each and every one of you in Cuyahoga County. Thank you so much.
Sorry about that minor technical difficulty. The next portion of candidates will speak to the General Division, Court of Common Pleas. Typically, they handle civil and criminal cases, appeals for most administrative agencies. There are 22 candidates on the ballot. Judges we have here with us today are the following listed. Will candidate Richard Bell please approach the floor and step on the X?
He had to leave to go to a funeral.
Okay, I apologize for that. Will candidate Tim Hess please approach the floor and stand on the X?
Evening, everyone. First of all, thank you for having us in this great event and putting this on. I think it's important for the community to be able to meet the judges and the people that are going to be holding some kind of office that is one of the important, that's local to them. I'm a candidate for judge. I don't currently sit on the bench. I am a magistrate in Garfield Heights Municipal Court. But I'm practicing 22 years as what I call a constitutional defense attorney. Most people call it a criminal defense attorney. And I say that a lot to people because I don't like to have my clients referred to as criminals. Just as anyone in this room were charged with a crime, you don't want to be called a criminal. You're a defendant, but you have every right, just as much as anybody else does, to have your case heard in court. In practicing 22 years as a trial attorney, I've practiced in private practice. I've practiced primarily in constitutional defense and civil rights. I believe in our police. I believe they have a tough job, and not all cops are bad, but I think that the ones who are need to be held accountable, and that's why I do a lot of civil rights work. But the other thing that I think really impacts our community is the absence of fathers. And one of the things I've seen over the past 20 years is the fathers who end up going to prison, and it's a repetitive cycle of kids not growing up with their fathers. I want to get somewhere where we have a more community-based corrections, such as the CBCF, utilizing probation. We need to keep our fathers in the community. We need to keep them in the home. They need to be with their kids, taking care of their kids, and have a male figure for their kids to look up to, hopefully in a good way that they can be of a good example. And I don't think having dad in prison is that example. So my name's Tim Hess. I'm running for Cuyahoga County Court of Common Pleas, General Division. I don't expect your vote unless I ask for it, so I'm asking for it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Will candidate Corrigan please approach the floor and stand on the X? Okay. Will candidate Starfo please approach the floor and stand on the X?
Good evening, good evening. Jeffrey Saffold is my name. You were close. You were close. Saffold. I want to thank you for the work you've done. I mean, it's really tremendous. So often we forget the importance of judges when we go to the ballot box. We're focusing on our great city councilmen and legislators whose roles are important. But it's much more likely that your family, your friends will come in contact with a judge than it is that they'll come in contact with a state legislator. The judicial races are just so important. I too, along with Frankie, was hired in the 90s by the late Honorable Stephanie Tubbs Jones, and that's where I learned compassion and understanding as a prosecutor. And then I've gone out and spent about 20 years now defending people who are charged with crimes in this community. And so I've seen both sides of the courtroom. And I think that that's created in me a real knowledge base of what it means to be a good judge. And frankly, when people ask me what does it mean to be a good judge, I'll generally say something that it seems like I'm being dismissive, but I'm not. You have to care. You have to actually care about the people who are coming in front of you. And frankly, that's not often what we find in the Court of Common Pleas. We find some judges who are very concerned and very compassionate, but we find others that are indifferent. And that's not going to be who I am. When I listened to Mr. Dunn speak, I was moved by the numbers. I hope you all were. They were startling numbers. To think that African American males represent 13% of the county, but almost 50% of who's going to prison from Cuyahoga County. That's startling. That's startling. There's got to be a shift. There's got to be a shift, and I'm hoping that there's going to be a shift. I think there's some great candidates out there who are running. Some of the candidates who I'm out there stomping with, we were working to get the Democratic endorsement and now looking forward to the general election. These are really good candidates, and I hope we're going to focus on solving the problem and not just incarcerating and taking the easy answer. Last thing I'll say, and I'm stopping, I promise. I got to stop. Okay, all right. If we have a chance, I'll tell you a story. It's a great story about a judge who showed me just the other day that he didn't. Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry, we have a lot of candidates and we have to ensure that we hear every single candidate and that we are able to make informed decisions. So for the next candidate, Clancy, please approach the floor and stand on the X.
Good evening. Thank you. Good evening. Thank you again to the NAACP for inviting us to come and introduce ourselves to you and give you information about us. I am Judge Maureen Clancy, and I have been on the Cuyahoga County Common Pleas Bench, the General Division, for the last almost 12 years. I'm in my 12th year. And like Mr. Saffold and Judge Goldberg, I too am honored to have been hired by the late Congresswoman Stephanie Tubbs Jones to begin my career in public service as an assistant Cuyahoga County prosecutor, where I spent almost 15 and a half years. In coming to the bench, I have been given the opportunity to participate in a number of our committees, the probation committee, our case flow committee. I've been on the commercial docket for 3 years, and I've spent my entire career as a judge on the Judicial Advisory Board for the Community-Based Correction Facility, which is an alternative to prison. So it's a probation sentence that gives people the opportunity to be rehabilitated. They can have drug treatment, they get their GEDs if they need to, there's fatherhood initiative, and since I've been a judge, that program has expanded to add additional programming. And also I'd like to say that it's not just me, but my court has provided so many more opportunities for people who have and face these addictions and have other problems that they're faced with in their life to get themselves back on track. And I think our court has made such a huge improvement. There are a number of drug courts, recovery court, we have diversion, we have reentry court, we have veterans treatment court. So there are so many opportunities to really help people and address the needs of our community. And I'm proud to say that I've been involved in many of those opportunities for people. So thank you again. I look forward to seeing you again, and thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you so much. Will candidate Sindenberg please approach the floor and stand on the X?
Hi, everybody. Hi. How are you? Thank you. Oh, thank you. Hi, I'm Joan Sindenberg, and it's great to see you this evening. Dr. Dunn, it's great to see you, great to hear from you, and thank you for the work that you also did on the consent decree. Your presentation was very moving, and I want to thank you for the opportunity to be here. I'm in year 18 on the bench, my first 2 years in Cleveland Municipal Court under the late, great presiding Judge Larry Jones. I'm in my 16th year in Common Pleas. And while I've been on the bench, one of the issues that we dealt with, which is just what we heard Dr. Dunn say, is the people who've been saddled with their criminal history when there was this great disparity in how crack cases versus powder cocaine cases were treated. And I conducted expungement forums, hosting a panel of people that could come out and assisting over 1,000 people get expungements or record sealing. And thank you to Senator Shirley Smith. There has been a change in who is eligible. It's more broad now. We do have specialized dockets that you heard. I preside over recovery court, which is for people diagnosed both with substance use disorder and trauma. One of the other things that we're dealing with is the overcrowded jail condition. We've been striving to reduce that. COVID presented some problems, but just solution-oriented. I am having a book drive right now. Every book is going to inmates in Cuyahoga County Jail. We've been doing this for about 3 weeks and we've collected 327 books and magazines. If you're interested, please let me know. I'm a former defense attorney of 16 years before I was on the bench. And before that, I worked in the Cuyahoga County Jail as a social worker. My body of work is about caring for people, helping other people, and I really hope that you will continue to support me. Thank you so much. By the way, my mentee was Crystal Bryan. So just to give you an idea of how much I appreciate being here, it's kind of coming full circle. So thank you, everybody. Have a great time. I appreciate the opportunity.
My pro bono project. I'll leave them on the table. I'm sorry to mention that. Thank you.
Will candidate Serrano please approach the floor and stand on the X?
Thank you so much. Hi everybody, I'm Denise Joan Salerno and I'm running for Cuyahoga County Common Pleas Judge in the General Division. First, I want to thank you so much for the privilege of allowing me to introduce myself to you. A little bit about me, I'm a lifelong resident of Cuyahoga County and I received my master's degree at Kent State University in rehabilitation counseling. That was the start of my public service to the community. After working with persons with developmental disabilities during my graduate studies, I went on to work at a community mental health center here in Cleveland for a number of years. I was a case manager, I did counseling, I was a community liaison, and I assisted in the drug rehabilitation program. In 2008, I moved over to the Cuyahoga County Prosecutor's Office. I wanted to serve my community, I wanted to protect my community. I worked very, very hard to do that, and in 2013, I was privileged to be invited to join the cold case sexual assault kit testing initiative. It helped over 7,000 people, women of our community, who just wanted closure and justice for having been victims of sexual assault. After 4 years, I moved to our child victim unit and I worked with our children in the community. I currently work in our grand jury unit, representing all areas of criminal law. I'm running for judge because we need good judges. Obviously, we need judges who are fair and impartial to everyone. Everyone. Doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter where you come from. Everybody deserves the same level of respect and dignity that we all expect. You can count on me to be that judge. You can count on me to handle cases efficiently, and I'm Denise Salerno, running for Common Pleas Judge. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Turner, please approach the floor and stand on the X.
Good evening, good evening. It is my pleasure, my honor to be here. I'm a kid from the Morris Black Projects right down the street, raised by a single mother. And here I am before you. Yay! I am Judge Deborah M. Turner. It is my pleasure, my honor to serve as your elected judge on the Court of Common Pleas. Experience matters. And the breadth of my experience as a former public school educator, as a magistrate in Cuyahoga County Juvenile Court, as well as Griffin Municipal Court, as a bailiff, as a city prosecutor, assistant law director, guardian ad litem, defense attorney, family law attorney for 19 years, has served me well in the residents of this county during my tenure on the bench. As well as, I want to make sure that you understand something, and that is that during my tenure, I have rolled up my sleeves to do the hard work, both on the bench and off the bench. I currently serve as a commissioner on the board of professional conduct appointed by the Ohio Supreme Court. I work with the bench committee with the Cleveland Metropolitan Bar Association. I work with the Criminal Rules Committee from the Ohio Association of Judges. I have done the work. I've served with integrity, character, discipline. I'm qualified here and now. And I ask that you go all the way down the ballot and you remember Deborah Turner for judge. We say, when I'm on the ballot, it's Turner time. What time is it? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Will Candidate Kelly please approach the floor and stand on the X?
Thank you very much, and thanks for hosting tonight, and it's always great to hear Dr. Dunn. One day, I will be as interesting to listen to as him, but tonight's not that night. After decades of working on political campaigns, I am, whether it's legislative, council, mayor, you talk about everything, but when you run for judge, you can't talk about that much. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself that'll hopefully give you a glimpse into the lenses I look through when I make decisions. First thing is I am a husband and a father. I'm a father of 5 young daughters who are wonderful and crazy and expensive, and I know what it's like to deal with those family experiences every day. I'm an attorney. I've been practicing law since 2004. The 2 accomplishments that I'm most proud of as a lawyer is I was able to get 2 gubernatorial pardons from low-level drug offenders who were being hampered in their careers because they had the felonies on their record. I didn't just go to law school out of undergrad. Before I went through law school, I put myself through working days as a social worker. I'm a master's as a social worker. I worked in recovery resources, and all of my social work was in criminal justice and reentry. I'm a public servant. I'm a former member of Cleveland City Council for the past 16 years, the former president for 8. Some of my proudest accomplishments there are instituting a right to an attorney for people facing eviction in the city of Cleveland. That's something that council did. Instituting a language access plan to open up City Hall to all languages. Lead Save Cleveland. First year Cleveland to deal with our shameful level of mortality. I'm a public servant. And I'm a member of the Democratic Party. I'm a lifelong Democrat. I'm a former vice chair of the party, ward leader, and I just work on elections ever since I've been 18. So I certainly appreciate your consideration. Again, my name is Kevin Kelly, running for Court of Common Pleas. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Will candidate Jones please approach the floor and stand on the X?
Good evening. I'd like to thank you all for having this event today. There are very few times where people get to see both candidates together. So it's very important because it gives people perspective. I am not a politician. I am a judge. I have been on the bench this is my second time around. I was on the bench for 2 years before. I was reappointed to the bench in December. The moment that I was sworn in, I hit the ground running. I restarted a mentoring program that I had previously in order to address the needs of people who are put on probation. They end up violating and picking up new charges before their case is sometimes resolved or before they complete probation. There is a need to deal with the trauma, the underlying trauma that people have that ends up bringing them back in the court. I'm dedicated to stopping that cycle, and I believe that in order to do that, it requires that we address the emotional needs as well as the work needs, the educational needs of people that come before the judges. I am fair. My temperament is unflappable. You may hear people say that I am firm, but they are not going to tell you that I've ever lost my temper. I've seen attorneys throw tantrums, and my temperament is exactly the same as when you come in with jokes. So my name is Judge Wanda C. Jones. I am on the Common Pleas Bench General Division. I ask for your vote and your support this election cycle. Thank you.
Thank you. Will candidate Callahan please approach the floor and stand on the X?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Ken Callahan. I'm in my 17th year as a judge in the General Division of the Common Pleas Court. I was originally appointed to a vacancy by then Governor Voinovich in 1993. Served for 16 years, was 10 years back in private practice, and was reappointed in December to the General Division. In 1993, I presided over the Cleveland Browns cases, which resulted in the a settlement that resulted in the franchise remaining in Cleveland. Some weeks I take credit for that, other weeks I say, no, that wasn't me. I agree entirely with Dr. Dunn and others who have said that the war on drugs has been a complete waste, not a complete waste, but a serious waste of resources. You're trying to solve a biological problem of addiction with criminal sanctions, and it just doesn't work. It's trying to connect two pieces of pipe that don't really fit together. And it does stigmatize people and sends people that are otherwise worthwhile people to the penal system. So in any event, I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you today. The decisions that you make in the Common Pleas Court, both on the civil side and the criminal side, are extremely important. You know, when you sentence somebody, you're breaking up a family, you're breaking up a marriage, you're taking a job away. I can't understand how you could make these kind of decisions without God's grace. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. Will candidate O'Donnell please approach the floor and stand on the X?
Good evening. My name is Jennifer O'Donnell, and I'm a candidate for Court of Common Pleas Judge in the General Division. My background is with the Public Defender's Office. I am a career public defender and a criminal justice reform candidate. Since 2008, I have had the absolute privilege of representing thousands of members of our community who cannot afford an attorney. My work as a public defender provides me with a very unique background as far as judges on the bench, and also a diversity of experience that is currently lacking. As a public defender, I have an up-close and personal view of a lot of the ways that our criminal justice system is falling short and is failing members of our community. I am a strong supporter of judges who are willing to come to the table with our county government and work to improve conditions in the county jail. I am a huge proponent of bail reform. Ladies and gentlemen, the bottom line is that you should not be incarcerated simply because you are poor. And it happens far too often in this community. And lastly, I'm a huge proponent of mental health services and substance abuse treatment over incarceration whenever we can do so safely. And again, I'm really running for judge because I want to improve the system and I want to make it better. In addition to my work as a public defender, I come from a strong labor background. I'm a proud union member. I've been a member of AFSCME since I started my career with the public defender. I'm also a delegate to the North Shore AFL-CIO. I'm very fortunate to have their endorsement, as well as the endorsement of the Democratic Party. And lastly, I am a wife. My husband, Michael, is a frontline healthcare worker. And so I do appreciate the smaller setting that we're doing this in to keep it safe. And I'm also the mother of a 4-year-old son. And again, my name is Jennifer O'Donnell, and I look forward to speaking with as many of you tonight as we can. And I'm the table with the chocolate, so.
Thank you so much. So the next portion will conclude with the 8th District Court of Appeals. So a quick description, the review of judgments by the Court of Common Pleas where an error was made, municipal and county courts, appeals from Board of Tax Appeals. We have one candidate with us today. Okay, so we're going to proceed with our program, and we can touch base with him probably after to ensure that we hear all candidates. Will candidate Sullivan please approach the floor and stand on the X?
Thank you, and I'd like to thank the NAACP for having us here. My name is Cornelius O'Sullivan. I'm a judge on the Court of Appeals. I'm so very happy that I'm not a write-in candidate because I didn't learn how to spell Cornelius till the 5th grade myself. I'm very thankful for the numbers that Dr. Dunn has presented to us. I'm on the Court of Appeals Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Committee, and we're working hard on those things ourselves. I've been a judge on the Court of Appeals since last year. I've been practicing in appellate courts my entire adult life. I worked at the court as a young lawyer. I practiced in 5 of Ohio's judicial districts for courts of appeals. I practiced in the Ohio Supreme Court and federal courts. Throughout my life, I've worked at various community services as well. I think my reputation for fairness has been exemplified by my work as a partner in justice with the Legal Aid Society, and I work with Special Olympics and with Habitat for Humanity. My credentials are on LinkedIn and on Facebook, and you can look those up if there's anything more. I'd like to talk about what else I do. I'm glad that Blaine Griffin was here because I dropped a book off at his office when he started his new job. I wrote a book called Feed the Hungry. I've been an advocate for that. I run 2 community meals, and we serve 200 meals a month at 2 locations. I've been doing that for 15 years. Started back when I was in private practice. I also do a lot of work in the community with fairness, equity, and inclusion, and I've been practicing that for generations, really. My father started it coming over from Ireland 100 years ago. My wife and I have 4 sons. We are, all 4 of them are Eagle Scouts, all 4 of them are members of the National Honor Society, all 4 of them got academic scholarships to college. 3 of them have graduated and bought houses. 1's in college. They're all under 28 years old, so my wife and I are very proud of that. I'm very proud of what I've accomplished in my legal career, very proud of what I've accomplished in my personal life and with my family. My name is Judge Cornelius O'Sullivan, and I appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you so much for attending. We have 4 other candidates, so please ensure that you do your research. Unfortunately, they were unable to attend today. So we wanted to do a quick overview of the Ohio Supreme Court. Unfortunately, they were not able to be in attendance. The Supreme Court is the court of the last resort in Ohio. Most of its cases are appeals from the 12th District Courts of Appeals, and they focus on questions about constitutionality and the death penalty cases. The Supreme Court also exercises general authority or control over all state courts through its rulemaking authority, and it sets the court administration statewide. So we're going to do a final review to see if we have missed any judges in the room. So with that, we will conclude this session, and we will give about 20 minutes to learn about the judges and ask any questions. They stated their presentations, and hopefully you can gain more clarification about their roles or hear wonderful stories that they might want to share. And please stay tuned because we will close up, of course, wrap up the event. Are there any questions?
We can ask the candidates.
Well, I mean, if that's what the audience, we can, this is our space together, so.
Okay, I'd like to ask the candidates.
Sure. Would you like to come to the mic and step to the X?
No.
Okay, sir.
Too busy. No, I would only ask for candidate Rucker. When you said that you had the programs for the incarcerated and all, it makes it seem like you're looking at them for a long-term stay. I thought this, juveniles should be rehabilitated, not going through a college program. We look for them to go back to the system. I mean, system meaning the free system.
Thank you. What I meant is I wanted to partner with Tri-C and community and Cleveland State University to add college courses to our high school curriculum, because we do have a high school curriculum in the detention center for those individuals that are there. Because while they're there, they need to be educated. And that is the same thing that a lot of school districts are doing around Cuyahoga County. Cleveland Metropolitan School District, North Homestead School District. And I think for those children who want to go to college after their experience with juvenile court, we put them in a better position outside of the juvenile system once they leave. We put them in the same position that we put other children who haven't had that experience. And that's what I would like to see done. Because we need to give them hope so that when they look at their life, they can say, this was not a good part of my life, but while I was there, I got some training, I got some of this, I got some of that, I got some of the other thing, and some people tried to set me on a different path. And that's what I'm talking about. Now, unfortunately, you are going to have a number of individuals who are going to be in the detention center for a while because, unfortunately, they have been bound over to be tried as adults. And those individuals, too, need those kinds of vocational classes for those that don't want to go to college, or college courses for those that do want to go to college. And it is important. It is important that we give them hope, because at some particular point in time, their experience with the juvenile justice system and or the criminal justice system is going to end. What do we do with them then?
Thank you. Okay, so
could I just quickly respond to, or since we're wanting to for answer, could I answer this?
So I'm going to ask
Or you just follow
the resident that had asked, or the member in the audience, the attendee, to ask.
Yeah, have them go around to the table if they have individual.
Oh, I see.
Okay, so we're gonna go to the individual tables to ensure to get more feedback. You can ask a variety of questions and also get more insight about the roles or any additional information.
Feel free to get up and from the back.